Hey, what's up, everybody? Appreciate y'all for joining us. This is the One and One Sports Show. My name is Shawnee.
I'm Dante.
What's up, everybody? Again, appreciate y'all for joining us for one more week. Um, Feel free to like and subscribe to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. And we got a pretty good show today. Of course, we're gonna touch into the NBA playoffs. But there was a particular topic that my partner in crime wanted to go over. So, Dante, this is your specialty. So I'll
Okay.
let you kick it off, and then I got some opinions I wanted to add on it too.
All right. So one of the biggest things, and it was a pet peeve of mine that came up during the time of Dion's tenure at Jackson State, historically black college and university, and that was the word exposure. And I feel like a lot of times as black people, we get sold certain things in a certain way, and it gets puffed up, and then and then we get a letdown later. And the thing about exposure is this: he did bring in some really good prospects from the recruiting trail, like a guy like Travis Hunter, to other recruits that he were able to bring in, is also guys that were able to come from other schools that were not getting the opportunities, which is the biggest thing that I would like to push about HBCUs is if you're a guy at a certain level, and it does take some wherewithal to be like, look at all these guys in front of me. I'm not going to play. Why don't I go somewhere to play instead of starting here and then transferring there? And like a guy like James Houston, who transferred from Florida, ended up being a really good player at Jackson State, getting drafted, and actually had a pretty nice rookie year. Made some plays I think on the Thanksgiving game at that. So that helped pump the name up, and you got to see Jackson State, which is beautiful when you see that. But the thing is that this past draft, there was one player drafted in the 2023 draft. Now, that's the downside. The positive side, as I counted in the article I read that was on, I think it's on the site that it's called Anscape. It's a part of ESPN. It's basically it's heavily focused on black people in sports. Like I want to say, I think Dominique Foxworth writes for it a lot, as well as other writers. William C. Roden, who wrote the book $40 Million Slave. And so they were just saying in it, like, Doug Williams, who, won the Super Bowl MVP with Washington and has been in NFL front offices. When he said something that was just like, nobody wants to stand on the table to draft these guys from the HBCU because if it doesn't work, they'll look bad. And that's something that was like, when he said that, I was just like, damn. And that's kind of like, hopefully, all you can do is take from other things in the article, which like a guy named, his name is, I think it's Arias Guthrie, and he goes to Delaware State. He was an all conference player. He's already got the attention of a man named Jim Nagy. Jim Nagy is a guy that is over the Reese Senior Bowl. And if you want to know if a guy's going to get drafted, tune on the Senior Bowl, and when you start hearing names and they start buzzing, it's like, hey, look at that guy's measurables. Look at him this week during the tape and how he looked. That's how you get drafted. And also the big one that everyone knows about, and the one that people like to what they call the underwear Olympics, is the scouting combine in Indianapolis. And when you get guys that are actually invited to the combine, those guys get drafted because they put a lot of resources in following your tape, and they want you there. The main thing isn't the 40 and all of that. That's what pops to the fans. But the thing is, what are his medicals? What is his mindset like? What is it gonna be like? Hey, I want to put you in this type of scheme. I want to get you here, and seeing how they are. And so that's the biggest thing. And I know that there are two games. There's an HBCU separate combine, and there's an HBCU basically an HBCU Senior Bowl. And those kind of events are increasing exposure. But that's it. I will say this: the combines and things like that. Those exposure that matters because they're actively scouting you. And so on the downside, you get one player drafted for last year, but I did the count guys that were invited to camps. There were two, and I believe there were 18 drafted and unsigned drafted players. And then sometimes what you would like to see is just simply guys becoming a pattern because teams will in their front offices will cater their what they like in players from a certain skill. And I will say a guy that I just knew was going to get drafted, Isaiah Land, who had an opportunity to go to another school but didn't stay at FAMU. He went undrafted, but he did go undrafted to the Cowboys, who did get Marquise Bell last year, who's a safety. He actually made the 53-man roster, and so you could see a thing where it's like, okay, they like his traits because he's an edge rusher, but he's a light guy, so he's a guy that you're gonna have to creatively use. And once you start seeing things like that, maybe you could say you're making a little bit of progress. And in that story, they did have Eddie Robinson Jr., the head coach at Alabama State, talk about how he went in the second round. And at that time period was the end of the sweet spot, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and the early 90s. You still had guys going. He was in the second round pick. You had a Steve McNair going in the first round. So the landscape changed. And I know a big for me, a big part of it is we talked about it. The FCS schools, like the North Dakota States and stuff, they've built themselves up, and they do get a lot of the talent, and those schools do, and I think it'll just take the reputation for the HBCUs to become, better. And I'm linking at schools like hopefully like a North Carolina A&T, who they don't, saddens me, they don't play in an all HBCU conference anymore. They play it in another conference. Hopefully those teams can kind of get guys to go through and show that, like, because all it takes is you get a couple of guys that can really play, and guys come and they'll once they get drafted, they'll transfer, because that is a big thing about recruiting. They said in the article, a whole guys are discouraged to come here because they didn't see any names get called. And
Mm-hmm.
and so it was a tough thing to me. It's something that I appreciate the platform to be able to bring that up, because it had maddened me so much about it. And that's another thing that hurt. Like, I'm still rooting for Dion, but I wanted to see Shadur Sanders. That helped. Like, you talk about exposure and helping the brand. You get Shadur, Travis, and some other guys drafted, then it's looking like recruits are like, hey, I have to go over there. And a lot of times you have to come to actually compete. Your rivals will have to match that, and so you get an effective. Hey, this guy getting transfers, these guys getting recruits. Now we done seen a couple of guys get drafted and actually make some noise, because you get the guys that every now and again, like they were reading an article. Teron Armstead was a third round pick from Pine Bluff, and on the top 3 rounds, those 100 guys, those are the best guys. And so the more you can get that, the more you can get fourth and fifth. Because I want to say, I think it was Audrey Miller. I think he was a seventh round pick, and it's just like, and it's great to hear your name called. But the last word I have about something to be positive to look forward to, I don't have all the information. But if you are an undrafted guy and you're getting calls, then you can kind of push your price up, and you can get a signing bonus 20, 30, 40, 40,000, whatever it is. Once they pay that money to you, you might have the edge over that 6th round pick, because basically the top 100 guys is round 1 through 3. Round 4, you kind of safe. They might give you 2 years, but 5 through 7, if that undrafted guy is outplaying you, you
Yeah, I
know,
heard
you know how that goes.
sometimes the undrafted guys would get bigger money
Hmm.
than the late round pick guys. And plus, the benefit about going undrafted, you're a free agent, so
Hmm.
you can go potentially go to a team that that could will fit you better. At that, I mean, I know a lot of times the younger players, they just want to hear their name called, so
Yeah,
it's a big
that's
thing to get
big
drafted.
thing.
But there is some benefits for going undrafted, and a lot of time, sometimes it'd be like a tug of war between two organizations trying to get your services. You can use that as a benefit to negotiate a higher,
Hmm.
signing bonus or
Signing bonus.
whatnot. So it's definitely probably more pros than cons going undrafted. But the biggest thing a lot of the younger players want is they want to hear their name called.
Yeah.
And
You
I
want to
want
feel, you want to
to
feel belonging.
yeah. And quick salute to Larita. I see she's saying hi, so appreciate you for listening in.
Appreciate that.
And one thing I wanted to mention, because I know when you hear about this whole HBCU and its relation to the NFL draft and whatnot, a lot of times it is many times, especially in this current climate, within what the past about 3 to 4 years, where it's really been a lot more eyeballs have been on HBCUs for various factors, especially when I think it really got the attention during the early pandemic years. I don't
Yeah.
know if a year before or not, but I remember it was like a time where everybody was pointing at HBCUs and they were trying to bring them up more to the spotlight, and including the NFL draft, especially with after the whole Kaepernick thing and all that. And
Yeah.
so what? And a lot of times, especially with people who are on the outside like who maybe barely follow sports or maybe don't even follow sports at all, it's easy when you hear HBCUs. The first thing that many people gonna think is pretty much just straight up black versus white. It's HBCU and NFL. They look at them predominantly white. That's the first thing they're gonna look at. So, you know, when you hear about HBCUs not getting players drafted, I believe it was like four. I believe it was at least four
4 and
HBCU.
22.
Exactly, and then it went down
Four
to
guys in
one.
22.
Yeah.
And then down to
So
one, and like they said, will it go down to zero? Like literally said that in the article, and it's just like they're nervous about it because, like you saying, Shawnee, I think they feel like the momentum is slipping, and I think it's a lot of eagerness to the fall. It's a lot of eagerness and nervousness about this upcoming fall. I do think so, and I'm being positive. I'm being positive about it. It's like, hey, I want to see my thing. I want to see how everything does. I'm looking at it from another perspective. Hey, man, they had a lot of guys defect from Jackson State, and that's a proud program. It's gonna be a lot of chirping when they step on between the lines, and that's gonna be interesting to see how those young men respond to it, and who comes and tries to take their throne from who winning swag back to back.
yeah, and so my thing is, okay, you got that racial dynamic aspect. So I'm saying, okay, just move that to the side. We already know that exists, especially that's like the biggest piece of the pie that many people like to point to when it comes to HBCUs and the NFL. So say if you are a GM in charge of putting your team together, you are going to look for players that you believe will make the biggest impact on your squad, will be the best fit for your squad. And one thing that they look at players is, not only their individual performance, but the competition that they go against. Competition
Mhm.
that strongly matters. For example, say if you and people do it all the time today because it's not no secret. HBCUs don't always, well, especially I could uh, speak about within the SWAC. I can't 100% speak about the other HBCU conferences, but a lot of HBCUs don't always go against the most highest competition. A lot of
Mhm.
time their meat of the schedule is basically conference play, and if they do non-conference games, they tend to play lower programs, and that's the
Yeah.
one they get their wins on. Even if they play, because HBCUs are FCS schools, so
Yeah.
there's a collection of FCS schools out there. You don't even have to mention the FBS schools. Just say because a lot of the players that was drafted in this year's draft was from Power Five schools, and
Mhm.
there's a reason for that. But just stay on the level playing field. FCS schools, for example, Prairie View played a school that many people probably never even heard of, Incarnate Word. They are a member of the
Yeah.
Southland Conference. Drove them, unfortunately,
Drove 'em. Yeah.
drove them. So when
Drove
you
'em.
and so you have to, so of these GMs and scouts and whoever, they see that when these players are like, okay, your competition level. So when you're looking at one player as a potential NFL draftee, like, okay, who did you
Mhm.
go against? Because competition does matter. It don't have to be like, for example, if you look at a Power Five school, there's a reason why people think so highly of players in the SEC. So
Mhm.
say if you a player and you play for Missouri or Vanderbilt, two football programs that's currently been struggling at SEC. Okay, everybody knows SEC is all about Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ole Miss, and all those schools. But say if a player was on like a team like Missouri or Vandy, and they got all SEC uh, awards or votes, that will be huge for them
Yes.
because they're like, okay, we know this program is not, getting the amount of wins as the premier programs in this conference, but you as a player, the fact that you're able to put
Yep.
performances on against this type of competition, you will hear those accolades be spoken widely. Man, almost spoken widely on those draft coverages. So they put that whole they view competition as a huge source. So with HBCUs, they just don't compete a
Yeah.
lot against those competitions. So I think that long because there's a whole list, and I was looking at it before the show. It's a whole list because I see the one because two it was two that was drafted from Missouri Valley Conference, and that's also an FCS conference. But
Yep.
just that conference alone, it was two draftees, players that were drafted in from that conference. One from all the others, including, and which was the one from Jackson State. But this one also included the SWAC, the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, Ivy, Big Sky, Northeast Conference, Ohio Valley Conference, all these other FCS conference, and they can say the same thing that SWAC. Hey man, our players are not getting drafted. Our players,
Yeah.
some of those other schools may not even get the attention. Like people probably can't even name a school in the Northeast Conference, and they players probably SWAC schools are getting more attention than those schools because you can see them on ESPN at times. You ain't gonna really see no Northeast Conference schools playing on these national
No.
channels. So it's not, I guess, because I know what Prime was saying about they disappointed with the lack of HBCU representation in this past draft. But dude, it's some other schools that are on the same level as FCS schools,
Yeah.
and they can
Yeah.
say
And
same thing.
you know, my counter to that will be, is even though it's few and far between, as those schools and as those conferences, they can't point to. We can like, and I know and I read that article and they said you can point to the past.
Oh,
Oh
appreciate that.
man,
Appreciate that.
appreciate you, bro. When you can reach back to the past and show these different players that have been drafted, but you can't really go and talk about some of these guys because such a new era that they may not know who they are. Like the most recent off the top of my head I can think of guy that went to the Hall of Fame, which is hard as hell to make no matter where you come from, would be Aeneas Williams with the Southern. He's
Hmm.
cornerback at Southern. And so, excellent player. But it's just like it's hard to go, but you can give more reasons, like we just mentioned, Teron Armstead, who just got a big deal from the Dolphins, who was drafted probably about a decade ago. You can go to a Tyus Howard, who, if I'm not mistaken, Houston Texans still is their starting right tackle, if I'm not
Uh,
mis- if I'm not mistaken, or he was
I
brought
think he
in to
is.
be. Yeah,
I think he
because I
is.
know, I know, I know Tunsil's locking down the left side. So it's one of those deals where it's like they do because it's especially some of those like the Missouri Valley. They might be I'm just guessing they might be a more of a basketball school or so on and so forth. Whereas the SWAC and MEAC, I want to say you have your teams that might be that, but I know with the SWAC or Southern Conference is definitely built on football. So yeah, they have their gripes, and you can say the level of competition, and that's one thing I have heard. I was in an HBCU room on Twitter, one of those rooms, and they're talking about it, and it was just like it's hard for them to compete because you got to get the front seven right, and there's so many guys that can block and move their feet and athletic, so it's hard to be able to compete at that level. And so the other thing is, and that's just a matter of what type of athlete you are. It does matter about the measurables because if you're not playing against the best competition but you're dominating, and when you play, like I want to say a buddy of mine that's who's been in coached at HBCUs and is at Alcorn now. He actually told me he was just like the guy that I think it was KJ Black. He said that the school that he came from before he came to Prairie View, he was playing against Florida. And it is garbage time, but these guys are future first round picks. He lightened it up. And so people are like, oh, hey, who, and that's what happens when you get who's that? Similar to something we'll get in later about a guy that played good in some garbage time minutes and end up, being a hero. So it's like you have to take advantage of the opportunity when you do those games when you play up. But I would say this, I do agree with Dion on this. Don't get we talked about this. Don't get your guys beat up playing those games. Play things that are more in your realm of competition. Like I've seen Prairie View really let one slip away against Rice. and Rice is at the bottom tier of Division 1, but it is still Division 1
Yeah,
both FBS, and they
yeah,
and they do get guys every now and again drafted. Even Rice, and I think that's the point. So it's like play those schools that you can play like that. I want to say I think Prairie View played Abilene. Was it Abilene Christian they played? I think it was Abilene Christian, or I can't remember who it was that they played, and the game was competitive and close. When you play up or you play those level of games, but the thing is, those schools don't have the same amount of money, that's why it always comes back to resources. And so it's such a difficult game. It's like, dang, do I go and get this money, or do I play against the team where it's more competitive? And I will say this: I follow a woman on Twitter, and she criticizes the SWAC and other conferences, so mainly the SWAC, because I think she's a Grambling alum, so much about the deals that you're making with ESPN. Like, recognize your value and don't just take any crappy deal. If you take a better deal, you have more money, and then you'll be able to be on a better playing field. Like, one thing that's been a travesty, and I think it's coming to an end finally with HBCU Go. Hey man, one of the biggest HBCU games was not regularly televised, and that's the State Fair Classic. And they're putting 50,000 in the Cotton Bowl and bring it up. Obviously, it's been there for years, and they're putting a lot of money in helping boost the economy in Dallas with the alums from both schools. Why is the game televised? Like the deal, like I think everyone should look at the deal. You may not be able to do it, but what Grambling and Southern did to be on NBC every year, that is a huge deal. And you talk about exposure, like that's major, and that's at a time in which you're sitting at home amongst the other games, the other rivalry games, and it's like, oh, there goes Grambling and Southern. And so I think it needs to be more of a focus on putting the work in and putting better players in the best position. The coaches getting guys and recruiting guys in the best position, and maybe even players realizing, okay, as a transfer, if I got one shot, one ticket, my lotto ticket, and I'm gonna go play here, graduate transfer or transfer with 1 or 2 years of eligibility. Do I need to go to this school where I'm about to go into camp? They're not gonna release the depth charts, and I'm gonna have a really difficult time getting on the field. And then I'm sitting there and it's like, that is my last shot, and you stuck. Or can you go to one? Can you go to the MEAC? Can you go to the SWAC? And can you go to these conferences and go and make more of an impact? Be it maybe being have a shot at starting being an all conference player. But it's the system is like, I want to say, I know somebody's wife said it. She's kind of controversial, but she said it. The NFL and everything is geared towards the bigger schools, and you got to understand that. And when you do make the decision to go, you got to understand you have to fight through that, and you got to have thick skin, and you got to just be willing to work. And because let's be real, we talk about going to the NFL. There's 32 teams. That's how many guys. It's hard as hell. It's hard as hell to even be an undrafted guy. So it's just like we're talking about something that's impactful and it's important, but we got to keep it in the grand scheme of things. It's gonna take some time. It's going, and they said that in an article. It's an uphill battle, and you just got to know that. So I'm glad we just wanted to put some spotlight on it, and just mention it because it was I know it's the NBA playoffs, and it's about to get to that point to where, hey man, football's about to have mini camps, and we about to be in the conference finals. It's about to be lean on the stories. So I wanted to focus on one that was, since the draft is relatively new.
yeah. One thing I want to add on there was what was up?
Yeah, PBA has improved over the last 20 years. It's been like a big impact and some different coaches and things and money being put into the program. But yeah, man, I appreciate you checking us out. The love, appreciate everybody in the chat. But hold on, he said, but Deion Sanders proved his point concerning the leadership of the school that either
Oh
negative or
yeah,
positive effect on sports. Yeah, I mean, he proved his point, but at the same time with Deion, I just want to root for him over there, and I want to kind of leave out the HBC up to us. And I'm hoping this year that he keeps it on them because I'm worried it could get a little lean for him. But if they stick to the course, they could be a team that next year, when the recruits come and more transfer portal next year, they can make a big leap. But this year, I think it's going to be like they starting off with the team. Yeah, they played in the national championship and they got smashed, but they could do the same to Colorado because they brought in some transfers and they're a solid program. So I'm interested to see what they do. But in terms of the impact he made, I don't know if it was as good as we thought it. I always say this: he left, the impact could have been much better. But where it's at currently, I don't really know. We'll have to look and see. I'm hoping that he left Jackson State in a good condition. I am hoping that.
I'm curious to see how the HBCUs will go about now that he's not in that conference anymore. But one thought I had, I lost it previously, but it was interesting when I heard that during the draft, many teams they will like a player, but for some reason, for whatever reason, they won't draft them. Cause they trying to maybe a draft, they trying to address these positions, or they
Hmm.
have their out on this player, but they always had their out on this player. And then as soon as the draft is over, the 7 rounds is over, they come knocking on the door of the other
Hmm.
player, trying to get sign him as an undrafted free agent. And so you'd be wondering, like, okay, if you really wanted that player, why did you just draft him? Why you had to,
Yeah.
why you just let him, But they, for whatever reason, cause they probably, try to add some depth to another position or whatnot. But unfortunately, if you're gonna take that path on, you see this player, you always have your eye on this player, and you think you're just gonna be able to get to him in the undrafted free agent pool or whatnot. Well, it may be some other teams now that's just trying to get his
Yeah.
attention now.
It-
And that, for that player, it's a good thing. For that
yeah.
player,
It's a
it's a
good
good
thing.
thing. For the teams, you kind of screwed
Yeah.
yourself.
And I know we really ready to transition to the NBA, but I got one last thing on that is this. I think sometimes, and Doug Williams hinted on it in the story. Like I said, I encourage everybody to go read the stories on Anscape, so ESPN if you just search it. But how hard is it for you to stand on the table for a guy when they're looking at, well, we can go get such and such from this school that everybody knows. It's easier to talk up. It's easier to talk that up. So if you have to stand on the table for them, like I know it's a little scripted, but they was cutting in with Will McClay, who's an executive for the Cowboys, and he was promoting the guy. I was like, hey, well, he does this, and you win those battles. You be like, hey, I need my guy here. Like I never forget when Dan got drafted. Like you could tell, you could look at the war room and you could see Jason Garrett on the ball. Like, hey, I want a quarterback. Like, hey, give me a guy. And so I think that has something to do with it too. It's just like, well, let's get him on the back end. So if he's undrafted, we give him a couple of G's. That won't hurt us as bad as okay, that was when I drafted. He wiped out. Even though when you get into that, like I said, that 5 through 7, it's a dice roll. It's nothing but a dice roll, and so you would like for them to roll the dice on a few more of our guys because maybe if you are drafted, maybe it's like I don't want to cut them, or you get that cycle that if you do get cut, another team's come and scoops you up. You're on the practice squad, more of a path to being in the league and at least playing a couple of years. But I mean, it's something to look out for, and I know we touched on it now, so I'm gonna put a feather in the cap and kind of remember next year when the process is starting and kind of listen to who from the HBCUs they're talking about. Hey, he's draftable. He's draftable. Look at his measurables. Look at his traits. I'll even with some of the guys that I follow to do drafting, I might even ask them, on some of their chats or whatever, like, hey, what do you think of this guy? Because I know if you got the size, weight, height, speed, you'll at least get a look.
Hmm.
So man, in one of my chats from my from my friends, I noticed that they sent something because the NBA came out with the All NBA list, and there
Oh
was
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
missing from that
It just
list.
came out. I know
Mm,
Dame. Dame was
yeah,
missing.
I, now Dame was 13,
Dame made
but Ja,
13.
Ja didn't make it, so he can't get that
Oh,
super
Ja.
max.
I think he. Damn. I,
Mm, that
well, he
hurt.
got injured. He got injured.
He
So
got
it's
he
like
got he got
he missed
injured,
one
and
game.
then of course, hold on real quick. Hey, the loves. I see you said add the link. You trying to hop on?
I think he's talking about that.
Oh, add the link for the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me get it, and I'll post it so we can get that. But yeah, I got the list right here of who all made it, and it's a predictable list. Like when I posted it, I don't think it should be too many complaints. Like obviously, and this is the one thing that's gonna add more juice to the USA versus the world. You only have one American star on the first team All NBA, and that's Jason Tatum. Everyone else is, well, I mean, everybody else is deserving. Of course, you got the MVP, Joel Embiid. You got Giannis, who was third in the MVP voting. You got Jason Tatum, Luca, and then you got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on the first team, rounding it out. Second team, you got Steph, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, and Nikola Jokic, rounding out the second team. Third team, you got, man, very deserving. De'Aaron Fox, DeMontis Sabonis,
Definitely.
Damian Lillard, Julius Randle made 13. And then you got LeBron James. So it's just like, dang. But you can see the heavy thread in there is like it's a lot of fresh blood in there from Donovan Mitchell, who's made
Mm-hmm.
it, but he's still a young player. Jaylen Brown making it, De'Aaron Fox, you know, Sabonis making it. So it is good to see the fresh blood in there. It's kind of like, changing to the times. So,
I'm sure
LeBron at
some of
this point.
the national NBA crowd or national basketball crowd, they may be surprised about Gilgis Alexander being a first team because he played for OKC. They don't get that
Yep.
much game shown, so they may not really know nothing about it. But dude, that dude got a hell of a game. So but
Hell
yeah,
of a game.
I was looking at the list right before the show, and yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably would have made it, but he got
He
injured.
said he
He
found in
too
the
much.
West.
He's not available. He's not eligible. Basically,
Nah,
I'm not
now the thing
surprised that
is,
Embiid got the first
yeah,
team over Jokic because he's the MVP. It was going back and forth all season. He MVP, so he's gonna make first team.
yeah.
It'll
And the
really
thing
be something
is,
if he made second and
yeah.
Jokic got first.
And the thing is that the Loves, I saw you say the AD didn't make all defensive. And I know, and the thing is, people were like, well, he didn't play. And I was like, they didn't put that rule in place. And then the thing is, Jaren Jackson played more games, AD played more minutes than him. So it's one of those deals to where certain players are getting punished and some aren't. Like I heard Jeff Van Gundy drop this nugget. AD has played more games in the regular season the last few years than Steph Curry. But it's just how you're thought about. Steph dealt with his injury concerns early in his career, and whereas AD has dealt with them now, and it's just like I will say this about some of the newer age bigs, they're on the floor a lot. Embiid, he's on the floor a lot. I've been watching the playoffs, and it's like he'll make a great
He's
play,
always on
go
the
and
floor.
dive, and it's like boom, on the floor.
He's
And
always on the
that is
floor.
at your size, that's more propensity. So injuries are going to happen. So those kind of things happen. If they can stay out the floor a little more, which is tough because they're going all out. Like when Embiid, he got that turnover and he went and got that chase down block in game five. It was like, oh, it's like that's the effort and stuff you want to see. Like LeBron going, getting that deflection. Like that's the stuff that I would say for everyone that is upset about the regular season. I'll say that you're getting that and more this postseason. It's just some of the teams that you would expect to win aren't winning or in positions to win, as you would think. But man, that really threw me for a loop because, of course, I don't like the Celtics as a Lakers fan because that's a rival. But I expected them to go up 3-2 and not Philly. I didn't know if Philly had made that turn the corner. So it's like they turned the corner, but can they close the door? Because you don't want to go into Boston again and have to win. And I think if they close it out in game six and they make it to the conference finals, I feel like that does validate his MVP. I feel like now the Jokic, his MVP is now validated by again making it to the conference finals because it's like your team is healthy. You are that
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, because there's some people who believe that the playoffs should be included in the MVP vote, and besides Jimmy Butler and um what's the name over there in Phoenix, Booker,
Oh
Jokic's been
man,
going off.
Jokic has
So
been on
if
fire.
they would have combined them, he's been going off because that yesterday was Embiid's first impactful game, pretty much that series. He got hurt, and then when he came back, they lost that first one. He got hurt. Is Harden really won two games for Philly, and Embiid pretty
Yeah,
much won
well,
one.
I'll say this, and appreciate you, JG, checking us out, man, getting your sports education for the week, man. I appreciate that, bro. But what was it, game three? Harden
Game,
didn't have no help. He got the MVP, but he didn't have any help. So yeah, James dropping the 40 is kind of like it's more than what they needed, but it's kind of like he needed the help. He got the help in game. He got the help in game four,
no,
and
game
he got the
three.
help. in Game
Game
Five.
three was the one that Harden looked like he done reverted back to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Houston
that's what I'm
Rockets
saying.
Harden versus San Antonio.
And if he just looked a little bit better, they have a better chance at winning that game. And it's one of those deals to where, yeah, Embiid is looking like he's going to be able to give you that consistent 25 to
Yeah,
30, 35 points, and he's going to make the impact on the defensive end. Can James do enough? Or like last night, James was getting the assist and distributing the ball. Maxey went off for 30.
yeah.
And it's like, I mean, it was joy to my ears, but they was booing Boston in Boston. It was getting booed, and I was like, because like,
I heard, you go ahead. You go ahead.
no, I was saying part of me was just like, it's weird. It's like I want them to win just so I can go and hopefully go and beat them. Because now at this point, I'm feeling like, yeah, we have a legitimate shot at making the finals. But the other point is like, I want to see Embiid win and just be successful and make the conference finals because I think the conference finals, them versus the Heat. Yeah, I'm
See,
with that because
you remember Embiid
Jimmy,
had a chance to go to the conference finals. What's that?
the shot,
The shot
Kawhi
with
Leonard,
Kawhi.
hit
Yeah,
that shot,
so
Like I'm
that
talking
was
about, he
his chance.
contested and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like the ball just bounced, went
Bounce,
in.
bounce, bounce.
So for him, so for them to make it, and then I know that storyline is gonna come up because I don't know if y'all seen it. They've been put. Jeff Teague was on a podcast and he was talking about that infamous Jimmy Butler's practice where he came and cussed him out and said they was gonna play him and all of that. He's been talking about it. And then Carl Anthony Towns was on the pod. He's been doing a podcast interview, and it's just like it's interesting to see like, oh, that really legitimately happened. Like he literally played them, scorched them, went home, and when they came into the locker room and kept practicing and looked in, he was on ESPN. Like the fact that they were blindsided by that was absolutely hilarious to me. Like the whole story that he picked the scrubs and told Carl Anthony Towns, like he's soft. I got him and guarded him and stole the ball twice. Like that story is hilarious. And if Jimmy even has a little bit of that towards Philly, because they literally chose this is a bad decision. They chose Ben
Tobias Harris.
Simmons and
Oh,
Tobias Harris.
yeah, yeah.
But both of those extensions, but I know Tobias was that summer. So they should both you chose Tobias directly over him. That's gonna be interesting to see. And I don't know how they're gonna be able to deal with him. But the only thing is, Miami's been a good story, a great story with Jimmy. I don't know if they got enough. I don't know if Bam got enough to deal with Embiid. I don't know if he.
Well, I heard it's a YouTube. I don't know if you heard it. He's called Dreamers Pro, and he was talking about okay with the I don't even want to say struggles with Boston, but I think currently they are 10-10 these playoffs at home, and how good of a team they was during the regular season. It's kind of surprising for them to be a 500 ball club at home during these playoffs. And after yesterday's game was pretty much almost was I don't know if it actually was or basically was a wire to wire win for Philly.
Mhm.
Um, he was saying because it's Joe Mazzulla, the coach right now, who was the assistant under Ime Udoka, and how when Udoka first came to the team, how he just transformed that team, which ultimately went on to the NBA Finals, led them to become the best defensive team in the NBA last year.
Yep.
Well, when all the drama happened with Udoka, did Boston, which they probably did, they suspended him for one. They suspended him indefinitely, and then it turned out to say, okay, you can go talk to other teams to see if you can be a head coach. Basically, just fired him almost. I don't know if it's officially. I don't know why they keep doing that. But so when Boston, what the dude was talking about on his podcast, Dreamers Pro, he was saying that did the Celtics make a mistake on basically firing Udoka to appease the crowd that is basically the Malika Andrews crowd, just trying to appease that crowd because all the noise and stuff and people blackballing Udoka over something because they say what Udoka did that's not new in professional sports. They just don't talk about it
In
on the
life,
outside.
I
And
think
life
I think
too.
in life, I think in
And
life
life too.
because you're dealing like you got to look at it. Somebody made a joke. They was like, Hey, he working all those hours, made it to the finals, and still had time for it. I was like, yeah, bro, you make time for like that happens. That's life. But I think from what it's been alleged and now it's kind of been glossed over, it's the fact that in the organization, while he's not the GM or anything like that, or the president of operations, he's pretty high up in the operations. And in the 2023 world, you can't mess with a subordinate. And because you have a position of power and the people of way well before you, they abuse that. They abuse that stuff. And so they did it, and it did turn out to being ugly. So it's kind of best practice to not do that. Similar thing happened to Tavis Smiley at his network, and that he built and everything, his production company, and it was just like, hey, I'm innocent here. We went on dates. This happened, that happened, and it's kind of like, he kind of became like somebody. Hey, you can't mess with him right now. And I do think they did that, but I think from what I also heard, he kind of crossed some people, and it was just like wasn't no coming back from some of the people he crossed. And so, kind of reading between the lines there, but it's kind of like, so they didn't want
Yeah,
to deal. They didn't want him around. So, which
yeah,
I
that
feel
makes
you, but
sense.
I don't know. So some of me thinks, okay, it's wrong on what he did as far as you can't do that. But it's kind of a deal like if it's a policy thing, they were also covering themselves just in case conduct
Yeah, they
wise, he
they
was
was
looked
worried
at that.
about they was worried
Yeah.
about the
So
masses coming after them, and
yeah,
I didn't have no problem with them suspending. You broke a team rule, but it
yeah,
was to the point that they had a good head coach before him. Brad Stevens was a good head coach, but it looked like his voice just wasn't clicking to allow the team to get to the next level. So Stevens went on to a front office position. Here come Udoka. So it basically came to a point where it's, okay, do you want to appease the masses and basically let Udoka walk to another team, or do you think you can withstand some of the backlash for a little bit, knowing that you got a real good head coach, and ultimately your team will continue winning? That other backlash will, eventually phase out, and then you go back and win. Because Boston, they're doing good right now, but I heard some personalities, they was questioning about Missoula's kind of do the team kind of. It was one instance where Marcus Smart, when they was playing against who was the first team they played the first series, Atlanta. When they was
Atlanta.
playing against Atlanta, Smart just got off the bench and just went towards the score table to check in, and Joe Mazzulla was like, well, "What the hell you doing?" But he let him go. So it looked like Missoula just doesn't have that control, I guess, or that towards players. They just kind of it made it look like they walk up. Now I don't know if that's like an accurate, you know, view of a whole season. Maybe it just happened that time. It was just in the moment. But with Udoka, he even though he was a new coach, he had that. He come from the Popovich tree, so he had that discipline in him. So, the Rockets now they benefiting off of it, so you can see how he gonna do. But that was just interesting to say, like, they could have had him, but it looked like they went through appeasing the masses route, where they
He
could have
dropped the
just
ball.
weathered the storm, suspend him. He got his suspension because you can't, hey, you using the wrong. But then, okay, let him come back and continue on. But they let him go. Even though Boston's still playing good, you can see where they short at from how they was under Udoka.
Yeah.
So because right now, they home record, they on the verge of. Now they still they only down 3-2,
They
but
they down 3-2, and if you win one game, ga- game
yeah,
7 in Boston, that's hard.
but
That's
now they got
hard
to
to
go back
win.
and win in Philly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Black man, what you got, man?
Man, listen, I wasn't even going to interfere, man, but every time I hear Andrew's name, I just get this itch behind the crack of my ass that bothers me. All the coaches. Let me do a rated R real quick. All the coaches are fucking somebody, and I don't understand why this was just blasted out. Because if you go back and listen to Sister Andrew, I mean, she did when the player died. I think somebody passed away, and she talked about the guy that passed away. Then right after she said he passed away, she said, "Now, guys, do you remember he was the guy that got arrested 5 years ago for this and domestic violence? He got arrested for assault. The man is dead. Right? Why was all the rest of that necessary? She does not like black men, period. And every opportunity she get to drag one, she's gonna do it. So
She
that's
said
for
this
her.
from
But
Missoula.
right, and so
Yes.
Udoka, I'm glad he got another job. And because even with the Rose situation, when he hugged her or whatever, I guess that was an issue. Um, I just think they should just have one women. They should have a women's ESPN with just number women on there, and let the men have the other one. Because even a slight hug stirs her the wrong way. But if you go look at her Instagram, you see all those white men. So you know that's what she really wants. She really wants to be with a white
She
man.
date Dave
So
McMenamin.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
it
ain't
just
he like a journal? He's a
Yeah,
journalist.
he's a journalist at ESPN.
Yeah,
He used to cover the Lakers and the Cavs.
yeah.
Like when you
so
when
that's
I was
so
with
that's
him.
how she got so that's how she got the job. Yeah, she slept her way to the top.
Her sister up there too.
Oh
Yeah, her sister
yeah,
up
Now,
there
here's the
too.
problem. You know she got the job, but news woman has it. No NBA player want to be interviewed by her. So she got it real bad. Whenever she's trying to ask the question, they looked at her, back up, deuce.
Yeah, Giannis. She
because
asked a
everybody see
question
how
to
the way she
Giannis one
treated
time.
Jalen Rose and them and that during that situation and Kendrick, and it's just like that. I know what Jay Z said in his chat. She fine. I don't even look at her like that no more. She's just any interest is like nah. Like you the enemy. You the enemy. So I just gotta watch you.
She's
That's the
been
one at the
toilet.
workplace you see and you. Hey,
Hold on one second. I put that image up there on the thumbnail today because I knew they would be addressing the old man trying to get back to the finals. But for Sir Hill Speaks, I
Hey,
just
hey,
want to
hey,
say,
be careful for calling somebody old. What happened to the Grizzlies?
hey, Black David, shut your ass up. Listen. You know what, Black David? I wasn't even gonna bother you today. I wasn't gonna bother you today, Black David. But you see how you just put yourself in my business. I wasn't gonna say nothing to you today. I wasn't gonna bother you today. We weren't gonna talk about nothing today. And see how you got up in my business? Now, Black David. Now, Black David.
Back on the show.
Black David, it's Jesus. Wake up, Black David.
Really now?
Black
Really now?
David!
Really now? So hell, you see your boy here.
Bro.
You see your boy.
oh Lord, oh Lord.
You see your
I wasn't
boy.
going. Now, I want to
See
say
your
this to
boy.
Sir Hill. Sir Hill's my brother.
The hell.
We've been in the mud together. Before Sir Hill speak, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Sir Hill. All right, because I know you're gonna call me tonight if something were to happen, which it won't. But
Yeah,
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, Sir Hill.
before Black Man says something blasphemous tonight, I want to give
Okay.
my respect to Black Men Unfiltered Network, to Canadian Black David, and to the beautiful the bright gentleman on the panel with both red hats. Both look like gang members. Salute to you fellas tonight for a wonderful show.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate
Now I
that.
want to say from the bottom of my heart, Sir Hill. You know you're my brother and I love you, but since we're rivals right now in the playoffs, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, fuck you, man. I can't deal with you right now. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to. But after tonight, when I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Golden State's gonna win 2 in a row. Right? We're gonna go to 7. And we're gonna depress a lot of people. So Suriel, I want you to make sure I'm gonna come over to your house and get all your firearms because I don't want you to hurt yourself. But we're going 7. We're going 7. It's the same thing happened with Memphis. We're just gonna repeat the same thing over again. It's no problem. No problem.
Well, listen. So I really appreciate us fostering this atmosphere of honesty, man. So there's something I want to say to you as well. Is I want you to stop doing crack. It's not good for you. It's not, I want you to stop that and just say no. I want you to get help.
So we since we own that topic, about the Warriors and the Lakers, I personally think the Warriors gonna come out like gangbusters tonight, and they gonna feed off that home crowd. Um, I even heard some opinions that it was asking the question if the Lakers should just let LeBron and AD damn near stay home and just get ready and rest for Game 6 back in LA because you know this is the Warriors when they play that home crowd. Clay gonna go off. And I'm gonna talk about Jordan Poole in a little bit, but I think he may show up because they're gonna feed off the energy of that crowd. So I
Right.
think they may win tonight. Now, when they go back to LA, it's a different story. But
Now I got
tonight, I just
LeBron
think they
James.
can.
Hold on. Breaking news. LeBron James is here, right? Hey, LeBron. That's what he's gonna do tonight when he get his ass whooped. I just want to just put that out there.
I don't see
I,
Braun or AD playing probably no more than 25 minutes if that game get over.
man, I see it as this: you don't never lay down. You don't disrespect them by laying down and be like, hey, we're gonna get you at home. That's gonna make them ramped up, and they're gonna come out and kill you in game 6. I think you come out, you try to end it tonight. You got 3 shots to win one game, but you know one of them, if you get to 7, that's gonna be hard as hell to win in that Chase Arena again. So they gotta at least, if they make it competitive tonight and they come and they lose a close one, then I'll be like, oh, okay, because yeah, the role players are gonna play better at home. For goodness sake, Lonnie Walker might score 15 points in the 4th quarter, like stuff you've never seen, and it's just craziness. So I feel like you play out tonight, and then like I predicted in the Lakers in 6. The format to win in the 6 is you have to win all your home. You have to win all your home games, and you got to sneak one against the team with the home court advantage. And so that way, you win. We'll win three on the road, 3 at home, one at home. I mean, 1 on the road. That's the formula to win in the 6.
Lakers are going to win. Lakers are going to win tonight. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay,
Forget
go
the
ahead.
stars. It's the role players. If the role players step up, all the Warriors need is one role player, right? So it could be Poole or anybody else. We can't depend on Curry and Clay. They're not enough. The Lakers now have enough firepower in defense. So it's going to be boiled down to the role players.
You
I
know
still
what?
think the Lakers are going to take it though.
I talked to Hank earlier, and Hank had already pre-recorded his victory dance for Golden State Warriors.
Man, it's a little hard to hear you, man. It sounds like you about to do some crack. It's a little hard to hear you.
So I already got Hank. Hank is going to do the. He already pre-recorded his dance. Hank, come on, Hank. I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm trying to figure out why we sit here watching Hank moisturize his lips. I was waiting for it. I'm like,
and who was that just came up? I know who was that just came up in here? Who is this? What's up, Jay? Yeah, man. So Hank had already done that because he's a hate. Yeah, he's a hate. No, we can't see you, brother. He's a hater as well. So I just want to make sure we put Hank out there on the front street as well.
Oh man, that's wild.
For all you Laker fans, I just want to say to all of you, kiss my ass tonight. And after it's over, I want you to be able to answer your phones. I want to call each and every one of you. I'm going to send you a message first to make sure you haven't deleted yourself, and then we're going to move on from there. Okay?
Man, I'm gonna be there. I done seen us lose a 3-1 before. I done felt that. That felt absolutely terrible. So I need them. I need them to fail nothing else. They gotta win.
If you're a Cowboy fan, this is not new to you. So so I just want to make sure.
Hey man, it's May, man. Come on, man.
I'm sorry.
Cowboys always tell
me. Yeah, the Cowboy. If you're a Cowboy fan, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
What's that?
No. He said you're a Warriors fan?
I am. And you, sir?
Oh, no. But I know you're a Warriors fan. I meant the cat next to you. He said he's a Warriors fan?
No. Sir Hill is a Laker fan. He's a LeBronian. He's from LeBronville.
To be fair, though, I'm a Curry fan as well. Actually, to me, I can't lose. I mean, you know what I mean? Curry and James are my favorite. But if I have to pick, I'm rocking with the Lakers.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sir, how you are a Lakers fan? You did say that. You're a LeBron fan. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with LeBron James, so he said hey to everybody. But yeah, definitely Lakers fan, LeBron fan, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I got you. Well, okay, so you're one of the ones that believes he's not a cancer to the team. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
And he
All
thinks,
right.
he also thinks LeBron is the GOAT. So, go figure.
Oh, Jay, you say LeBron is a cancer to a team.
No. I hear that he's a cancer to the team. Doesn't mean that I believe it.
Who I don't. Who
So
said
when
LeBron? Who said LeBron is a cancer to a team?
Well, LeBron, okay, let me say this. Michael Jordan was P-Pop, right? LeBron James will be considered a little baby. You see what I'm saying?
Little baby.
That's the difference. Very
I just know,
passive.
basically, if you get LeBron on your squad, you know that organization is trying
Why
to
can't
win
LeBron be J.
titles.
Cole or somebody? Why not be?
No,
He said
little baby. Little baby.
This little baby. I see this one comment. JG was mentioning why would you take the foot off the Tigers' neck? I guess that's assuming that he was when I was saying that the Lakers should just kind of
sitting
rest
him.
LeBron and AD.
Hell no.
It's not that I believe they should take their foot off the neck. It's that I believe the Warriors, because that crowd is just going to be so they feed off the crowd. You know, definitely when they was back in the Oracle. It's a little bit different in San Fran, but definitely back in the Oracle. They feed off that crowd. So I was like, okay, if the Warriors just come out just hot, if LeBron and AD 25 minutes and it look like it's just getting out of control, just go ahead and sit down, rest
Yeah.
of
At
they did
that point,
they did kind of the same thing
Come on now,
in
Anthony
Game
Davis.
5.
Yeah, I ain't gonna say Anthony Davis. That's not his name. I'll call it street clothes because he stayed in regular clothes on the sideline all year. For street clothes, he's one injury, he's one push or trip or rollover away from being out for the rest of the playoffs.
I'm real sick of you, black man. I'm real sick of you, bro. You're right
so,
though. You're right though.
He's gonna need bubble wrap. And what I would do, I would just take one of the guys off the practice squad and tell him to go to work. And make sure that when he jumps up, just swat the ball. Just slap him on the back, just real gentle. He'll break.
All I know is
before he hit the water. He'll break.
the Warriors have a healthy Anthony Davis. The Warriors have no answer for him. They just have no answer for him. But that's if he's healthy. If he, like Batman said, if he gets hurt, then that's a different story. So
I would say
I want to make sure you keep your phone on so here now. I'm gonna text you in the game, okay?
Let me be logical here. I think the issue with the Warrior is Jordan. He can get his game back, then the Warrior have a chance. If he still feel like he messed up, well, I can't say Curry can hold on to LeBron and but let's be honest. The reason why they call KD to hold on LeBron. It was in Cleveland. Now he's in LA. You got a lot of role pieces to help him out. And now see the difference between the player. I've been asking myself the same question. Now that this is on their back now, can they repeat what LeBron did with Cleveland to win the championship? Or would it prove a point that the reason why KD was there was to hold down LeBron James?
That's a good perspective.
That's what Stephen A. Smith was looking at. So let not people forget what happened between the Warrior and Cleveland. If they don't win this, I hate to say that y'all will have to eat your word for this and say, yeah, they call KD to hold on to LeBron James. Well, KD is not there right now. He was the son.
But I don't think you got it. I don't think we need that. I think that's already evident from the information we got as far as them calling them and everything like that when they lost. Like, yes, bro, you won 73 games. You came back from a 3-1 and then got 3-1. And so it's like it's known that there's no need for that. But I do feel like the validation did come from that championship last year. So I put that to bed in my opinion. To me, KD needed them more than they needed him. Because like KD had this situation over there where we rehashed that and everything like that. My only thing is this. I saw Rick Bucher. He's a solid NBA guy, solid broadcaster. I don't know if he's with Fox. No, he is with Fox. He's on Fox a lot. And so I heard him talking about the Warriors are the better team. The Warriors are the better team. Hey man, They literally in the game of basketball, you play the best of 7 to find out who the better team is. So if the team has 3 wins and the other team has one, simple math, the better team that's playing in this series is the Lakers. So like saying the better team and all of that, I really didn't want to hear that because this team is playing a defensive style of ball and they're playing a style that is giving that's frustrating the Warriors. It's absolutely frustrating them. So that kind of annoyed me to keep hearing them say that. And I was just like, give the Lakers a smidge of credit. They are on the doorstep of knocking them off. And it's like, yeah, LeBron is, I'll give you this. LeBron is gassed. A lot of it is coming out of him. But part of it is, hey, bro, in the last couple of years, he hasn't been playing no D. Props to Darvin Ham for getting him to realize, like, hey, bro, you got to play some D. Or whether it was within LeBron himself, I'm seeing him chase down and get blocks, and that's why the offensive production is down. But the defense is the key. He's playing and he's helping the defending. The guys like Vanderbilt and I mean, Austin Reeves been getting torched, but Vanderbilt and Dennis Schroeder have been coming up and playing defense and helping out. Even Rui, who's not like a defender, and AD's defense is all world. So you have to give them credit for building it like that. And for as good as a coach as Curry is, I mean, Darvin Ham, he's not. He doesn't look like he's just getting completely outcoached. That's what I was scared of in this series. I was like, we would have to lean on LeBron's basketball IQ and everything, like them running that hammer play, which was literally laying after Darvin Ham, and they're like, "Hey, bro, just let's cover this." Like they've just been on top of them, and I feel like they should get more credit. But I should have said this before the series started. If they're able to go ahead and win this series, which I think they are, when it gets to the conference finals, let's put to rest all of the narratives that they did. And and I've seen people say, "Oh, well, Looney wasn't at 100%." When Looney was 100%, he got 20 boards. They got an L. So it's just like I don't know. And then like now they're trying to Michael Green. Then they went small with Draymond at the 5 and Gary Payton the second. I think that they are playing all of their guns, and I think the only gun they got left is Jordan Poole gonna have to go off at home and have a big shoot night. And Clay, like I've said before, it's tough, but Clay is at the end of the road. The injuries have sapped a lot of them. Sometimes he has it, sometimes he doesn't. And if he gives you one of those turn back the clock games, the old Clay, like he's 16, then the Lakers are definitely in trouble. I do think they will lose this one, but I am not gonna lie. The way they played these last two, I wouldn't be surprised if they won it, especially if you get AD engaged for 4 quarters offensively. Now that is tough because he's doing so much on the burden defensively, and they can't stop Curry in the pick and roll. But him being in the pick and roll, that doesn't help their free flowing offense with everybody touching the ball. And I don't think they'll make that. I'll say I don't think they're going to make mistakes like that again. But this playoffs, didn't Curry call a timeout when they didn't have any? So it's kind of like some of these lapses are starting to happen just over time. So I do think some of it's on the Warriors and them not playing up to their full potential. But you've got to give the Lakers some credit. And I've been waiting, but I'm talking cash shit. Lakers pull the series out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not holding back. I've been holding back. I held back for Memphis because everybody rolled them off. I'm letting it go because whether it's the Nuggets or the Suns, like I had a friend of mine who both Lakers fans, he don't want to see the Suns.
The Memphis game.
I ain't scared of them because they got no depth.
I hate to say the Memphis game was actively happening. Moment that
All right. Yo, are we only talking about just the Lakers? Or are we talking about
what you got?
No, you came in. You came in when we was talking on them. Now we're talking about basically what's leading up to the conference finals and the series as it is right now. Because I just checked and I think it's gonna be. I'm surprised the Knicks are winning, but I was expecting the Heat to put them out today. But it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the Sixers. It's gonna be the Sixers and the Heat. And I don't know if the Heat got enough to deal with Embiid, but they got Jimmy Butler, so they got a chance.
Well, not even just that. Like for me, and I do want them to beat the odds because every year they get shitted on, and people are surprised about the shit they did this year. I don't think. Let's keep it real. Let's just really keep it real. Y'all know about Jimmy Butler's fucking 56 point performance against the fucking Bucks. At this point, I'm sorry. That nigga, playoff Jimmy is top 10. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Probably top 5. Like, the Jimmy disrespect has got to stop now. He literally just shut the whole world up by knocking out the first seed. So when I see
Well,
that, it's just like, yeah.
well,
And
Jay.
guess what? And guess what makes it more impressive? He ain't got no duo next to him like all these other mother freakers. He ain't like, for example, Nuggets. Jokic has Jamal Kerr. Yeah. Jokic has Jamal Kerr. I mean Murray. Yeah, Jamal Murray.
Yeah, he's got
Freaking.
Murray, but he hasn't even been an All-Star. I'll say he has
Well, no, he's
Murray,
not an
but
all-star, but like
I'll
you
say
have
that
somebody
I'll say
that
the
can
Heat.
kill your two.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the Heat. I'll say the Heat and the Nuggets have a similarity in the fact that you got one big star, and then you got some really quality guys around them. They just sometimes the quality guys haven't been what they were supposed to be. But
Exactly.
Lowry fell off a cliff. But you still got Bam Adebayo, who's been an All Star and who has a lot of ability and is a unique player. So that's where I say a little bit of if you squint some similarities, but no, Jimmy doesn't have the me and him. He doesn't have that. It's just him. That's why Kyrie, Kyrie in the summertime makes some sense because that who don't want to be in Miami, but I think he's staying
I
in
don't I
Dallas.
don't
It's
know.
crazy
I can't
if they
see
ever got.
Kyrie
I'll
and
say this:
Butler's
if they ever did
personalities.
get Kyrie, that would be crazy.
I
But
can't
But
see
he.
Kyrie and Butler personalities because Butler would get tired of Kyrie trying to pull. Because Kyrie, well,
Oh no, he would have to
honestly,
get
by
on
that
Kyrie's
time
case
he'll
if the
have his
nigga don't
money.
play well.
He'll have his
He would
money.
have to.
So if he tries to do some of that Kyrie and he don't take ball serious, yeah, Butler he gonna end up saying
I think,
Butler gonna say
but
something.
Jay, go ahead.
Oh no. Go ahead. I wanted to hear my brother Shawnee's point. That's all. I
Yeah, that's
wanted
what
to
I'm
hear.
saying. Go ahead, bro. I know
Oh,
we're
okay,
running
No,
out
bro.
of time.
Oh no.
no,
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
is.
yeah, you go ahead, Jacob. Yeah, you go ahead if you
Oh
if you
no.
had
Go ahead,
some.
Shawnee. I'm sorry, bro.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
I was just the whole dynamic of Butler and Kyrie teaming. I can just see that's just fireworks. Yeah, Kyrie obviously he's an offensive great player, but just them personalities, especially because the thing about Miami, they almost pulled a 180 damn near from the regular season to the playoffs. They were not a
That
good
is a
shooting
180.
basketball
Yeah, it's
team in
crazy.
the regular season. All of a sudden, but Jimmy, that's because I'm on record saying, damn near playoff Jimmy when he's like that, because even though Jimmy tries to deny it, I don't know deny, but act like it's not there. But whatever he wants to call it, that dude will play like he's the best player in the NBA. Now, that's before now until yesterday, because yeah, Jimmy Buckets was getting his attention, but that damn Devin Booker, when he was shooting damn near almost 80% from, I'm like, what the hell? Averaging
Yeah,
over 35 points. Now
and
that's comparable. That's comparable.
what I want to say now is all this hype and talk I've been hearing about Devin Booker. Now I can see it. Like I know he's a good player, but now he's playing at another level,
But but
and
but
I
one
see
thing
it.
I want to add about Booker though, he is benefiting with the presence of KD there. Cause
Most
Booker was
definitely.
always he was a
He
main
is.
dude, but now you can't double Booker. He is 1-on-1. That dude is torture. As great as what Butler is doing in Miami. Before yesterday, 'cause he finally cooled down. Booker was just that dude was performing at a just astronaut
Yeah.
level.
Stephen A.
No.
Smith said something
I
about that.
definitely. I definitely
He said
agree.
KD made Booker play even better. Now
Yeah,
on that, it's kind of ironic. KD could be the number one player to go to in most teams. In this team, particularly, KD is the second fiddle to Booker. Booker is like unleashed. So,
he's benefiting
if
off of KD's
anything,
presence.
I expect to see the start in the conference final. I hate to say that. I expect to see that. So, tomorrow
Yeah, man.
game,
We'll
Denver's a
definitely
good
see.
team. Denver's a good team.
Yeah. Denver's a good team. I'd say
Yeah,
like the best players in the playoff right now are Jimmy, Booker, and Jokic. I'll say Jokic number two.
I,
Honestly, I'll say Jokic.
I'm
Jokic
not.
would
I'm
be
not gonna
number
lie.
two.
Both sides of the court, I can say I can put Jokic up there, but really and truly, Anthony Davis has impacted the game so much defensively and I know we focus on buckets, but him being able
Yeah.
to do what he can do, I will have to say he's three then because his impact on the game and LeBron is getting what he wanted, where it's just like the transfer of power has happened, and this is like, hey, when the team goes as he goes, and it's just like the way he can just come off and start those games off. LeBron can kind of feel his way out. If they have a quarter like that, which I know they get ready to start here in a little bit after our show, but it's gonna be crazy. But Jay, they got to put some more respect on. Hey man, the bubble was just good players playing basketball. It wasn't about anything, any politics or anything. It was just where was the politics at play, obviously, with the stuff on the court. But I'm not. I'm never forgiving for the stuff that's on the court. I don't rock with BLM as an organization. But as far as like actually the times that they was in the climate, like I'm all about that. But yeah,
I
you
know,
trying to say that, and I've been seeing them put. Hey man, y'all talked about the bubble, and now you got the Nuggets, Lakers, Heat, and Celtics. All still playing really good. And it's just like, hey bro, that wasn't a fluke.
yeah,
Like these teams are good. Well, I'll say good for organizations. I got to give Rob Pelinka some credit. I've been killing them. Uh,
yeah. The Nuggets are
so
amazing this year. I can't say anything
yeah,
bad about them. Like I
yeah.
said, Lakers. I think the Lakers will beat the Warriors. I personally will say that. I think that. That's just me because I want to Heat and Lakers fucking finals personally for me. But I guess
I
Sixers will
wouldn't.
be good too. But they said they get past the Sixers for me to believe that. Once they do that, I'll be like, all right, my team did good.
Yeah.
But damn. Like for oh yeah, so for Eastern oh no, not Eastern, for Western, the Western people coming next. I actually want Denver and fucking Lakers. Let's see if Anthony Davis can beat
He
Jokic, or
can't.
Jokic can beat Anthony Davis.
Go back and look at the bubble and see how like Joker that's Joker's kryptonite. Like it's quiet as it's kept. Like and the Lakers, I think we were 2-2 in the season series, and that's another thing people are leaving out because of all the injuries and games missed. People glossed over the fact that the Lakers were 3-1 against the Warriors in the regular season. If we would have tied them, we would have been the 6th seed, and Steph and them would have been in the Warriors would have been in the play-in. So that's just one thing. I know we wrapping up, so I'm gonna give my final thoughts real quick, and then I'm gonna toss it to you, Shiny. Man, I think the NFL might be less is more, and I think they're getting too greedy. What is they say? Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, and now they got a Black Friday game. They got another Christmas Day game, and it's one of those where like you already added the 17th game, and it's kind of like less is more. Let it just be the standalone Thanksgiving, because now you're giving me what's going to happen is you're giving me, are they still giving me the Fox, CBS, and then the NBC Thanksgiving game, and then you're going to give me Black Friday games? Though that Sunday slate of games is going to suck. It's going to absolutely suck. And so I'm looking forward to the schedule. I do want to go to a road game this year and see how it is, but the Eagles are, and I do think this is going to be something interesting. The Eagles are going to get that big old spotlight that you're not sneaking up on nobody. They got the Christmas Day game. I'm pretty sure they're gonna get a lot of prime time. So it's gonna be interesting to see how everything plays out because they already leaking stuff. It's gonna be leaks galore tomorrow, man.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna
I
talk
just
to you, Shiani. What you got?
my final thoughts is I don't think because it was just evident even though from what's that game the last game between the Lakers and the Warriors. I don't
Game
think
four?
there's been I don't think there's been a player as feared as Steph Curry.
No.
Because even those two shots that he missed, because during that game, because he wasn't hitting his threes, but Steph is an excellent. He can finish in the paint with the best of them, and so he kept taking it to the hole on them. And I remember that's why I give credit for AD in that defensive possession where Steph missed one of his 3 pointers. Um, I remember as soon as, especially if it's just Steph and he got you 1-on-1, the defender's feet they don't stop moving. They are constantly. You can't because if you take a step up, he'll hit you with that hezzy, take you in. Now he on the backside. He gonna finish at the rim, off the glass, high off the glass in there, or got a floater, or he can pull up any given time. Because
Yep.
what makes Steph so dangerous is he's a deadly shooter with deadly handles.
And those.
Usually, somebody who was shooting, obviously, I still think he's the best shooter of all time. But even like a Ray Allen or Reggie Miller, they were elite shooters, but they were more of catch and shoot shooters or stuff like that. Or Reggie with him and Ray, how they move, they played like Clay. Actually, they played like Clay, how they moved out the ball so well. Steph can do that, and if you give him the ball, this dude can boogie on anybody. And you
Yep.
see defenders when they pop out on him, and they going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because they don't. He can launch the ball at any time. He can, because you respecting his ability to shoot a three, or you damn near fear his ability to shoot a three. He can use that against you and then get you in the air, pump fake you, and go in. And I know some people was critical of Steph and his shot selection. I'm like, that's been Steph his whole career, especially when he was Steph, when he was up there, in a household name. Steph, he has a thing where he can shoot off of multiple forms, a
Yeah,
traditional 3-point form. He could do a kind of a shot put type form, depending on what defender is at. So what may look like a bad shot, it may be a bad shot, but even if it's a bad shot, many believe that basket is going in than not, and that's why I give AD his props on that last play that he was able to defend Curry. But I remember seeing AD as great as a defender, because AD is a defender that could guard a 5 all the way down to a 1. But even when he was on Curry, and his feet was just damn near like typewriters,
yeah.
because they
What did he
respect
say?
his skill set so much.
He shouted out his trainer. His trainer was like, oh, I forgot his name. He said, keep them puppies moving. He said, keep them puppies moving. He
I
said
was
it
like,
after the game.
man.
It's like, so that lets you know his training was thinking the whole time I'm playing him. And I'm with you. When the ball comes off his wrist, it's just like, I know the defense helped contribute to it. It was like, but it's like, please, miss. It's literally like that. It's
He
literally
can
like that. And
he
I like
just
playing them
get
is,
that
is
get that ball off in so many ways. I'm like, because people might say, yeah, that was a bad shot. I'm like, yeah, man, even
not
though
for
it's a
him.
bad shot, I guarantee you probably thought it had a chance of going in. It's just
All right,
I just
man.
haven't seen a player like that. Yeah.
Let's see. I know we got to wrap it up, but by the time we come back, we will be in the conference finals. Like you said, we said, hey, we think it's going to be Sixers and Heat. I think it's going to be Lakers and Nuggets. So we'll see if we're right, and they should be into the conference finals by next week. So we out of here, y'all. Appreciate y'all checking out. Everybody from the chat, much love. Appreciate everybody. Sonny, close it out, man.
Hey, yeah, man. Same here, man. I appreciate y'all for joining in with us today, and we'll see y'all next week. Hopefully by next week we'll know who will be in the conference finals for both conferences. So we'll just talk about that when next week come around. Oh yeah, and
All right,
before
y'all.
then, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there before the next time we
Happy
see y'all.
Mother's Day to the moms, man. Peace.